Hi Prof, in this video I'm to focus on the creation of our scrapbook drafts. As of now, we've been down to Care Corner for several times already, and we think that we have collected enough information to at least begin the drafting of the scrapbooks. In fact, drafting was quite challenging and it took quite a while. Not because the drawing part was difficult yet, but rather trying to align what we had in mind for the scrapbooks. So I think we had a big ambition to clearly establish what we wanted for the scrapbooks from the very start. So that's what we tried to do. We discussed whether there should be a standardization of drawing styles, or whether the pages should have a continuity to them, meaning when you flip from page to page, you'll see that there is a storyline. And I think this ambition sort of made us dwell over this issue for quite a long time, but ultimately we decided to just start putting pen on paper and see how it goes. I think ultimately we decided that we won't create too much standardization, or rather not have any at all, because what we really want for the scrapbooks is to express each senior's personality, and also for us to imbue some of our own creativity into the scrapbooks. So as of now, we are really just allowing each person to independently take on one senior and be responsible for representing them well. On this point, I think drawing wasn't really what I was expecting to be doing as part of this project. Firstly, because this was put under science and tech, so I didn't expect anything to do with scrapbooks. Then when we progressed further, I got to know that okay, sure, we're working on a scrapbook project, but we have my group mates Julian and Shujin, who are both better at drawing and doodling than I am. So I naturally thought that okay, perhaps sometime down the road, the work distribution would be I engage in some of the more conversation part, and then they would do the drawing since they were better at it. But ultimately, due to our timetabling issues, it became such that Julian and Himani was in charge of the communication part, of facilitating these tea sessions, and then the rest of us would just have to take on the role of drawing. When I first began working on a scrapbook, I would say that I was rather unconfident in my skills. There was this underlying fear that every subsequent stroke would ruin the drawing and then I would have to do it again. But these are some of the pages that I've managed to accomplish, and looking back at them, I think I've performed better than I expected. So this experience has sort of taught me to really go into things with an open mind and be daring to challenge your preconceived notions of yourself. Continuing from the last clip, it's been a few days since I've been working on a scrapbook. These are some of the new pages I've added and filled in with colours. During the process of drawing, the comments from the reviewer of our IX proposal suddenly came to mind. Specifically, it was this remark or this concern on how our project would resemble the final cut, whereby there is some manipulation and sanitization of others' memories to create a legacy. I think at that point in time when we received such a comment, we weren't very sure on what the reviewer meant, and we were also very skeptical or confused by what they had said. I think now everything is starting to come together, and I can see why they had pointed this out in the first place. So because our topics that we engage the seniors in tend to revolve around maybe family, travels they've been on, jobs, or what are their favorite things to do. So we document this within the scrapbook, and then we claim that this scrapbook serves as a memento for the family members. But then after that, I was thinking, is this really what is representative of the seniors? When a family member thinks of their elderly parents or their grandparents, is this what they would remember them by, or is this what is most important for them? And also from the seniors' point of view, if I was a senior, do I really want my life to be distilled into such a manner where I am just my job, my family, and my favorites? Or is there something more that I would like to convey to my family members? So on that point, I think this is something that we hadn't given enough consideration to. Despite the aforementioned shortcomings of this scrapbook project, I think it is still a worthwhile one. At least in the perspective of Care Corner, I believe that what they were trying to achieve is not a fully representative documentation of the seniors' entire lives, but rather just a fragment of what they were or have been, so as to remind the family members of like their personality and the presence of such a senior. At the same time, I think it's also to showcase that the senior has been spending their time meaningfully together with Care Corner. So to this end, I think the scrapbook still manages to achieve a few objectives, namely by allowing some of the senior stories to be documented, and secondly, for the family members to actually have minimally something to remember the seniors by, and lastly, it's also for Care Corner to exhibit or showcase what the seniors' activities are like under Care Corner.